Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And today we will be talking about Africa Day, and we will start off with this report. Egypt celebrates Africa Day annually on May 25th. The day serves as a reminder of the country's commitment to the continent's unity. More details in this report.
Egypt has had a long-standing relationship with the African continent and has played a critical role in the establishment and success of the African Union. As a member country of the AU, Egypt celebrates Africa Day annually on March 25th. The day serves as a reminder of the country's commitment to the continent's unity, diversity and progress, and provides an opportunity to renew its pledges towards working towards a brighter future for Africa and its people. Egypt's relationship with the African continent can be tracked back to the leadership of Gamal Abdel Nasser, who is a staunch supporter of African liberation movements. And Nasser's vision was to unite Africa and create a strong independent continent that could assert itself on the world stage. He saw the struggle for African independence as a continuation of the struggle against colonization, which had oppressed and exploited African people for centuries. Egypt's commitment to Africa is not limited to economic development alone. The country has also been at the forefront of regional peace and security initiatives. For example, Egypt has been an active participant in the African Union's peacekeeping mission in various African countries, including Somalia, Sudan, and South Sudan. Egypt's military expertise and resources have been instrumental in the success of these missions. On Africa Day, Egypt joins other African countries in reflecting on the continent's progress and challenges. The day provides an opportunity for Egypt to reaffirm its commitment to working with its African partners towards addressing the challenges facing the continent and promoting sustainable development across the continent. Egypt's continued support for Africa's development is a testament to its long-standing relationship with the continent and its belief in Africa's potential to achieve socio-economic and political development.
Welcome back, and to shed more light on the significance of Africa Day, we're delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Sherif Amir, a geopolitical analyst. Good afternoon, Dr. Sherif. Dr. Sherif, can you hear me? Egypt celebrates Africa Day annually on May 25th. The day serves as a reminder of the country's commitment to the continent's unity, diversity and progress, and it provides an opportunity to review and renew its pledge towards working towards a unified Africa that has strong mutual relations among its different states. And on this topic, we're delighted to be joined by Dr. Sherif Amir, a geopolitical analyst. Can you hear me, sir? Dr. Sherif, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you very well.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you, sir? Dr. Sherif, Egypt celebrates Africa Day annually on the 25th of May. The day serves as a reminder of the country's commitment to the continent's unity, diversity and progress. What's your take on that?
Well, it's obvious that Egypt is following its role that it has begun since 2013 in Africa. We have decided to be the leaders in this domain. We know that Africa was neglected for many decades before, and now Egypt is trying to be present. It's not only through the African Union, it's not only through our leadership of the African Union at that time. It's continuous. Egypt's presence is very vital to the economic, social, political development in the region, in the continent. We also know that there were numerous conflicts in this continent, unfortunately, whether in Libya, in Sudan, South Sudan. We had a major role in calming the situation in mediation. Also the question of refugees. We have seen what took place in Sudan and how we have acted actively to accept all these refugees on our territory as soon as the fighting broke out.
Right. Well, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi stressed that Egypt continues to do its best to support leading and a continuous peace and stability in the African continent. How do you view Egypt's role in solving a number of disputes in the African continent?
Well, this is an excellent question because, you know, in fact, in South Sudan, there was the fighting between the government and some militias and some factions, and the situation was very tense there. Egypt mediated through General Abbas Kamel, head of the intelligence, and then President Sisi made his first visit to Juba, to the capital of South Sudan. We were present in this conflict from the beginning, trying to mediate between them. Egypt always hosted these conferences, conciliation conferences in Cairo. So the question of South Sudan was resolved. We did the same thing in many other places. In Libya, we have mediated in the stability of the political situation, although still volatile. And even in Sudan, when the revolution against the Bashir regime took place, we were present to make things calm down. But unfortunately, we all know that foreign interference spoiled all what took place there. Egypt never gives up. We never give up about our mediation, and because this is, if we can call it, our backyard, it's our continent, and we cannot afford any more instability in this continent.
Right. Well, since the founding of the United Nations in 1945, Africa has arguably undergone the most dramatic transformations of the region in the world. How do you see the most important transformations that took place since 1945?
Well, of course, the movement of independence. We have seen many African countries gain their independence afterwards. And it was at that time Egypt's political motivation towards the liberal movement or freedom movement in the continent, whether in Congo, whether in Kenya. We were present in all that, and of course the war in Algeria. So many African countries gained independence with the help of Egypt. African countries also went through, unfortunately, tribal wars, wars between foreign powers on the soil of Africa during the Cold War and after that. So civil wars and famine were the tragedy which has struck all this continent. And of course, let's not forget dictatorship at a certain time. Was in Uganda at a certain time. And I think that now we're witnessing a new generation of leadership. Young people are not any more enthusiastic to find immigration outside of the continent because they know they are doing their best to find a place in their own country. So all what we have seen in this struggle, it was worth it because this is a rich continent. It's not a poor continent. We know that Europe gets its raw materials from Africa. So since 1945 till now, it's a struggle to survive.
Right. Dr. Sharif, Egypt assumed the chairmanship of the African Union for 1 year. What were the main challenges that faced Egypt during that year, and especially with regards to conflict resolutions?
Well, it was the question of economic development. We know that we all were going through difficult times, whether in Egypt and other African countries. It was after the Arab Spring, and then many instabilities were everywhere. President Sisi had a plan of a common market for African countries, as the Europeans did in the 1970s and 1960s also. They started the economy. So we have to do the same. We have to work together, maybe to some countries, not all the continent. This was the first challenge. The second challenge was the technology that was not present in all the governmental institutions through Africa. So we had this kind of conferences here in Egypt to working on the digitalization, turning every service into digital service in this continent, so to attract investment. And the third challenge, of course, was the infrastructure. We have built Egypt, for example, a dam in Congo and in Tanzania, and medical center in Juba in South Sudan. So we know that infrastructure will bring stability, will attract the people more to their own countries. And President Sisi always called upon the young people in Africa to stay in their countries, contribute, and work for their own future, not keeping outside help or immigration.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you so much, Dr. Sherif Amir, our geopolitical analyst. Many thanks for your insight. Always a pleasure having you, sir. And moving on to our next report, Egyptian Ministry and the AU African under the unveils for a specific purpose. More details.
Foreign Ministry spokesman Ambassador Ahmed Abu Zeid said the African Union is the house that unites us under a single umbrella and one purpose. In a tweet on his Twitter account Thursday on the commemoration of the Africa Day, the Foreign Ministry spokesman congratulated Africa on this occasion, wishing the continent more progress and development. He said that we celebrate Africa Day on May 25th each year, the day marking the foundation of the Organization of African Unity in 1963, whose name has been changed to the African Union. This year marks the 60th anniversary of the establishment of the entity that unites us under one umbrella for a specific purpose, wishing our continent continued progress, prosperity, and development. It's noteworthy that Egypt's relation with Africa has witnessed a remarkable shift since President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi took office in 2014. The country has been keen on strengthening its ties with African nations on multiple fronts, including political, economic, and security cooperation. El-Sisi has made a concerted effort to enhance Egypt's political relations with the African countries. He has visited several African nations, including Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Djibouti, Tanzania, Rwanda, Gabon, and Chad, to strengthen political ties. Egypt has also focused on strengthening economic cooperation with African countries. In 2016, Egypt hosted the Africa 2016 Business Forum, which aimed to promote intra-Africa trade and investment. El-Sisi has also launched several initiatives to boost economic ties with African nations, such as the One Village, One Product initiative, which seeks to promote small-scale industries in African countries.
Welcome back, and now let's check out this report on the African continent's challenges as a result of climate change. Let's have a look.
The African continent faces many challenges as a result of climate change, as it threatens rising temperatures and sea levels, changing propagation patterns, and the looming specter of drought. The weather has the most extreme impact on human health, safety, food and water security, and social and economic development in Africa, especially the most vulnerable groups. A study by the Faroe Center for African Studies revealed that one of the most important manifestations of climate change in Africa and the resulting economic and social cost incurred by the African continent impede the achievements of the 2063 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The study also shows that African economies bear huge burdens to confront the negative impacts of the climate change. The study continued, Africa contributed to the minimum amount of greenhouse gas emissions, but despite that, it suffers from most of the negative effects of climate change. The Africa region produces 7.6% of the greenhouse gases worldwide, and the continent's share decreases to only 3% if South Africa is excluded, which is considered the most industrialized country in the region, and it produces the most greenhouse gases.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the Panorama News that will be coming up shortly.